Yes, Louis. Are still on our pronoun unit, and today we're talking about object pronouns. So when we did our chart for pronouns, and let's just quickly review and fill this in. Okay, so when we talk about pronouns, we talk about them in person, number, and gender. Okay, so when we talk about person, what would be the three ways that we can refer to a pronoun in person? What would we put here? Grayson?
First, second, third.
Yep. First person, second person, and third person. I'm going to write person on there because sometimes that could get confusing with number, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because the person you give in numbers and the number you give in words, right? So what do we mean then when we're referring to number? How would we refer to pronouns in number, Greta?
Singular and plural.
Yep, singular and plural. Okay, and then the other day we were talking, we'll just do gender first. When we are referring to pronouns in gender, how do we refer to them? Gianna?
Masculine, feminine, and neuter.
Yep, masculine, feminine, and neuter, and it is only in third person singular that we would give it a gender as well, okay? So the other day we talked about subject pronouns that you use whenever the pronoun is in the position of the subject of the sentence or the subject complement of the sentence, okay? So the subject, whenever they're doing the action, the subject complement after a linking verb, right? Like was, is, we use a subject pronoun if it's referring back to the subject. So what were the subject pronouns? For first person singular, what's the subject pronoun? Greta?
I and me.
Just the subject pronoun? From the other day, what's the subject pronoun? So if I was writing a sentence, really simple sentence, and I needed to put a pronoun here as a subject of the sentence, what would I use? What? Yeah, it's a lot easier than I think you're making it out to be. So the subject would all fit in right here. So what would be the subject pronoun for second person? Joey?
You.
You. What would be the third person singular masculine subject pronoun, Lucy? He. What would be the third person singular subject pronoun for feminine subject pronoun? What? Louis, she, yep. And what would be the third person singular neuter subject pronoun, Lucy? It. What would be the first person plural subject pronoun? Joey? We. Second person plural subject pronoun, Lucy? You. And third person plural subject pronoun, Bella? They. Okay, so that's a review. So whenever we have the pronoun in the subject or the subject complement position of a sentence, we would use these pronouns, okay? Today, we're going to talk about object pronouns. And these pronouns are the pronouns that you use whenever the pronoun is in the position of an object. So that can be a direct object, an indirect object, or an object of a preposition, which we'll review in a minute. So let's talk about what the object pronouns are. So if I was going to say, let's see, a gift, we'll just say, my mom gave blank a gift. If it was first person singular, what would you put in there? Gianna?
Me.
Me. If you're talking to someone else, my mom gave a second person singular, you and you again. My mom gave you a gift. That's an object pronoun. What if I'm saying third person masculine singular, my mom gave, Lucy? Him?
Yeah.
Yep, him a gift. What about my sister, if I'm saying that my mom gave Lucy her a gift? And if she gave it to the dog, my mom gave it a gift. Okay? Well, I mean, sometimes we call our dogs. We don't call it an it. Okay? What about if she gave it to a bunch of people, and I was included in it? So first person plural object. Gianna?
Us.
My mom gave us gifts. I guess you would change it to, right? Again, my mom gave you or you all a gift. Third person plural, my mom gave, like, to a different family. Louis? Them. A gift. Okay? So those are your object pronouns. Pronouns you use in an object. In this case, it is an indirect object, which we'll talk about in a little bit. So let's just read at the top of page 36. It says an object pronoun can be used as the object of a verb or a preposition. The object pronouns are me, us, you, him, her, it, and them. Just what we just did. Okay? My uncle took us to the museum. Okay, so in that case, us is a direct object. We're going to talk about this in a moment, review it. Well, let's just talk about it right now. My uncle took us to the museum. So the way, whenever you're using object pronouns, objects, indirect objects, or objects of prepositions. Okay, so let's review what each of those things are. Direct objects, indirect objects, and objects of a preposition. So do you guys remember how you find a direct object of a sentence? Anybody remember the little formula? So with a direct object, the action is happening to that object. Okay, so like really simply, you know, if you said Mrs. Seark kicked the stool, okay, the kicking is happening to this stool. So that's a direct object, right? So in order to find the direct object, first of all, you notice I said the action is happening to it, so what kind of a verb do you think you have to have? Lucy? An action verb. So with subject complements, it's a linking verb, and you use subject pronouns with, oh, I didn't put the other ones up here, did I? With direct objects, it's an action verb. So you would find the subject of the sentence, you would find the action verb, and then you ask, you guys remember this? Who or what? And that equals your direct object, and you don't put anything else in between there. So when we say, my uncle took us to the museum, you say the subject, uncle, took, verb, it's an action verb. My uncle took who? My uncle took us. He's actually taking us and bringing us to the museum. So that is a direct object. Okay? Any questions? You guys remember that? Okay, the next one, he showed me ancient Greek vases. Me there is an indirect object. I didn't put your direct object. Okay, the next one, the indirect object. Okay, here's the formula for indirect object. First you have to, so in order to have an indirect object, you have to have a direct object. So first thing you need to do is find the direct object. So you would have the same formula. Subject plus action verb plus the direct object. Then you would ask to or for whom equals your indirect object. Okay? So subject plus action verb plus to or plus the direct object plus to or for whom equals your indirect object. One thing is, when you ask that question, to or for whom, with an indirect object, your answer has to be in between the verb and the direct object. Okay? Oh.
We approved for teachers for vaccines, so we have to register like right now. So
Okay.
just keep teaching and I'll start signing you up and I'll
Okay.
just ask you questions.
Okay.
Sorry to interrupt, guys.
All right, so, yep, the indirect object has to come in between over here, the verb and the direct object, okay? showed me ancient Greek vases. Okay, he showed what? What did he show?
Ancient Greek fish.
He showed the vases, so what would that be?
Direct object.
That's your direct object. Then you say, he showed the vases to who? What's your answer? Grayson? Me. And that's your indirect object. Notice it's in between the verb and the direct object. Okay? Alright, so one last review. The guide explained the meaning of the images painted on them. So there, the object pronoun is an object of a preposition. So do you guys remember how you find an object of a preposition? Anybody remember?
What's your birthday? When's your birthday?
5/8.
May 8th?
Yeah, May 8th, 1970. According to. So anybody remember how you find an object of a preposition, or where is the object of a preposition? Where is it, usually? Joey?
After the verb.
Well, it doesn't have to be, but probably usually. So an object of a preposition is at the end of a prepositional phrase. Okay, it's a noun or pronoun at the end of a prepositional phrase. So you have to have a preposition that starts off the prepositional phrase, and then you might have some words in between, and then a noun or a pronoun that ends it. Does anybody remember the sentence to find prepositions? Gianna?
Didn't we use like the crowd?
Yeah, okay, we said the dog ran, and then we put a blank, the crowd. Okay, so crowd here is your object of your preposition. Whatever word fits in here is a preposition. So the dog ran at the crowd. Okay, that's a preposition. This is a prepositional phrase. The last word in the prepositional phrase is your object of a preposition. So if you were going to put a pronoun here instead of crowd, what would you say? What pronoun would you use? Gianna? Them. Yep. Okay, and it's an object pronoun. The dog ran at them. Okay. Whoops, the God. This is your object of your preposition. It ends the prepositional phrase. So, do you have another one?
Do you care if I sign for you?
No, go ahead. Okay, so the guide explained the meaning of the images painted on them. So on them is the prepositional phrase, and them is the object of the preposition. Okay? Any questions about any of that? Okay, so in all of those positions, you have to use the object pronouns. If it's in any of those positions. So, let's look at our book again. One of the sentences below shows a common error in object pronoun usage. Which sentence is correct? So we have these presents are from Jerry and I. These presents are from Jerry and me. Which one would be correct? Grayson?
First one.
Which one?
These presents are from Jerry and I.
No, that one would be incorrect. Why would that be incorrect?
Wait, because I is not one of the object pronouns of it.
Yeah, you have to use an object pronoun. Why?
Because it's at the end of the sentence, or it's
What's from? What type of, part of
Oh.
speech is from?
That's a, what's it? It's a verb, right? Or-
No.
Wait.
Can you help them, Joey, or?
Preposition.
A preposition, like if you said the dog ran from the crowd, right? So because them is ending that phrase, that's why you use an object pronoun.
Dates, I'm sorry.
You have to
You
put
have to
dates.
your names.
Okay.
You can choose, Saturday, Sunday, or Monday.
Oh gosh. Anytime is fine. Let's do Saturday, maybe.
3:15.
Sure. Wow. All right.
We have to go right away. Okay, I'll have more for you in a minute.
I should write it down.
Oh, that one, no, that one was already taken.
Okay.
Sorry.
I can do anytime Saturday.
Okay,
If
I'll
you
try
wanna
that
just
one.
try. Okay. Or Sunday. Okay. Okay, so if you chose, so we talked about what was right, okay? So, exercise 1, let's practice a little bit. Oh, actually, you guys have about a minute left. We have about a minute left, don't we? Okay, we will just continue this tomorrow, okay? Okay. And if you want to work